Morning is Antra. She is a PhD student studying with Helga Van Miegroet.
Okay. So when we think about the forests in the Intermountain West, I think this is it. We have one end member, which are pure hardwood stands dominated by quaking aspen, and the other side are pure conifer stands dominated by different species of spruce, fir, and pine. And these forests are quite different in terms of microclimate, in terms of biodiversity, in terms of water fluxes, but they're also different in terms of carbon quality or carbon properties. They're also different in terms of how they establish themselves. Aspen are pioneer species, so they like big disturbances after which they can come in, colonize an area, and dominate it. And spruce or conifers in general are a little bit slower, but they are better competitors. So many people hypothesize that the mixed stands that we have, which are aspen and conifer, potentially started out as pure aspen stands, but due to lack of disturbance, conifers were able to come in and encroach, and over time, and with continuing lack of disturbance, they will outcompete the aspen, and so the aspen cover will change. Now, as I mentioned, aspen and conifers do differ in the carbon quality they have. And vegetation is the primary source of soil organic carbon, and this talk is going to be about soil organic carbon. So I'm going to focus mostly on soil organic carbon under aspen and under conifers. And most of the results that I will present come from 5 sites in Utah, but I will mention also some results from Colorado and Canada. So why soil organic carbon? Overall, soil organic carbon is considered a very crucial indicator of soil health, and it's known to affect many soil chemical and physical properties. For example, it correlates positively with nutrient availability, like here, carbon and nitrogen has one of the strongest relationships in soil, and these data are from Cedar Mountain, from the topsoil, so aspen, conifer, and mixed stands, and as you see, it's a really beautiful relationship, but it's not as strong with other nutrients, but overall it's positive. Another thing, soil moisture. We have known for a long time that higher soil organic carbon amounts increase the water holding capacity of soils, meaning if we have soils are able to store more water and don't dry out as fast, which is important for these areas. And the newest member of the group is climate change mitigation through carbon sequestration. Soils are the largest terrestrial pool of organic carbon in the world, and overall, it's estimated that soils store more carbon than vegetation, and if we look only at forests, it's about 50-50. So soils store as much carbon as vegetation. So when we went out, me and other students of Helga Van Miegroet's lab, we found that overall aspen do have slightly higher soil organic carbon pools than conifers, but the difference wasn't significant. Yet, when we looked at mineral soil organic carbon, the difference was significant, aspen having significantly more soil organic carbon than conifers. And so mineral soil organic carbon means we do not consider the organic horizon, or what is also called the forest floor or the duff layer. And as most of you probably know, conifers have a very thick forest floor due to the chemical recalcitrance of their needles. They have higher lignin amounts and lower carbon to nutrient ratios, which makes it harder for the litter to be decomposed. And if you look at the, so these are data from 2 sites, from Cedar Mountain and T.W. Daniels Experimental Forest. And in both cases, you can see that the organic horizon under conifers makes up a lot of the carbon in the soil under conifers. But what I would argue is that in this region where we are, we should maybe focus more on the mineral soil organic carbon. Sorry? Okay. So this is a study that I really like. It's a meta-analysis, and I think I show this graph in every class that I give about soil organic carbon. And basically what this study did was looked at all this, compiled all the data from studies looking at fire effects on soil organic carbon. And so the triangles and points indicate means, and the whiskers are the 95% confidence intervals. And if they cross the 0% line, that means there's no significant difference between burnt and unburnt. And if they don't cross, that means there is a significant difference. And I want to draw your attention to the forest floor. It shows two things. One, it's really important. The units of reporting are really important because if you look only at concentrations, so for example, percent carbon per gram soil, you would find that fire has no effect on the forest floor, which probably most of us would be skeptical about. But in terms of the amount of carbon, fire obviously drastically reduces the amount of carbon in the forest floor. And so storage is a combination of concentration and bulk density. And then if we look at the mineral soil, the storage doesn't really change. The concentration changes, but the storage probably, considering that the storage doesn't change, the lacking concentration is made up by an increase in bulk density. But overall, this kind of indicates that the mineral soil organic carbon is much more stable in regard to disturbances. And if we add, for example, potential climate effects to how forest floor will change, it's not really important for us, but for example in Canada, people are wondering how warming in climate might affect the decomposition of the forest floor. So the forest floor is the most vulnerable part of the soil. So coming back to the mineral soil organic carbon, this was the graph showing that aspen have more soil organic carbon in the mineral soil compared to conifers. And this is basically, these are data from Utah. We're still not sure whether that's true for all aspen conifer comparisons in North America. And we're actually working with some researchers in Canada to make on a synthesis paper to look into that. But I need to tell you that not all carbon is created equal. There's carbon that's more labile and carbon that's more stable. And considering the chemical recalcitrance of conifer needles, for a long time we believed that the chemical recalcitrance in the forest floor will translate also into chemical recalcitrance in the mineral soil. But that's something we can test, and one way to test is with soil incubations, where we put soil in an incubator at optimal temperature and moisture regimes and see how much carbon dioxide is released as an indicator for decomposition. And so a study from 2001 from Colorado compared pine and aspen stands and found the opposite of what we expected. Pine soils released way more carbon dioxide than aspen soils. We have found the same in Utah and people in Canada have also found a similar trend. So overall, we could conclude that aspen soil organic carbon is also more stable than conifer soil organic carbon. And so aspen, as I said, are the most widespread tree species in North America. This is the distribution range. And I think based on our findings, we can say that soil organic carbon sequestration is an additional ecosystem service we can attribute to aspen. But we also know that aspen cover is changing, and we have seen a decrease in that. And it seems that in the future, due to changes in climate, we might see more of it. And of course, a lot of it depends on our management decisions, what we're going to do, whether we're going to allow conifers to encroach or mimic big disturbances. But if we consider these changes, what would it mean for future soil organic carbon stocks? And to be honest, I don't know. I haven't found any study looking into that. The only study I know of is a former lab mate of mine who looked into the differences of soil organic carbon quantity and quality in the top 15 centimeters of soil that we assume is the most affected by vegetation. And she found that mixed stands are in between aspen and conifer in terms of soil organic quantity. So if we assume that mixed stands started out as pure aspen and potentially had the carbon amounts that pure aspen have, then maybe with the encroachment of conifers we lost some of it. Now how that would look deeper in the soil is really hard to predict, but I think this is something that would be interesting to look in the future. And with that, I want to thank you for listening.